The whole world is in the middle of a lockdown. It has been a while that life has been a normal, has come to a halt, and has been confined. We're all impatiently waiting for a cure to treat the coronavirus and are also left lingering with one burning question. When will life resume its normalcy? But should we really go back to the normalcy as we know? Listen further to find out just that. Hello and welcome. For Anthropose, this is Suraj Shrestha, and you're listening to the Anthropod, where I recount my experiences in and from Anthropose, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. The global economy is on its knees, and almost every government is scurrying in an attempt to control the pandemic and to seek possible structure to boost its economy once it's ready to loosen the lockdown. So are businesses, in a pedestal where pandemic has impaired the growth rate for some, and some left questioning for survival upon return to normalcy. The question really is if we should return to normalcy to how things were pre-COVID-19, or should we strive to do things better and seek paradigm shift on the economic priorities as governments, businesses, and individuals. I believe without shift on our priorities and procedural changes in how the priorities are met, we are in for a rude awakening if we conform to old ways post-COVID-19. The pandemic has surely brought to our attention the shortfalls of our current global economic system and how misaligned our priorities are. Example of the same would be how even major economies stood rattled worried about not having enough healthcare personnel and ventilators to support the patients during the pandemic. How shortages of personal protective equipments and things as basic as face masks put treating COVID-19 patients at risk. Or how private sector-led hospitals fell apart and deemed almost useless during this testing time. Such instances not only showcase how fragile our systems are when exposed to systemic risk posed by a pandemic, but also draws out how sensitive human life is and points to how vulnerable we are to a direct existential threat without proper risk management, or rather systemic risk reduction changes in place, and begs us to examine what is essential. Human survival, I think, is the priority when we seek to answer the question of what is essential. Moving forward, a proactive role should not only be limited to the systemic risk posed by a pandemic, but should foresee an overhaul of our goals and values as governments, businesses, and individuals. While we are currently tackling the pandemic, what imposes even bigger systemic threat to the human existence is climate change, whose impact, unlike a pandemic, would be of immeasurable scale and irreversible. And moving back to normalcy without any correction would mean continuing with models and modules that maintain the status quo. Now, is that what we want? There are lessons to be learned from this pandemic. The pandemic, for one, has showcased our vulnerability on survival and also provided us with lockdown with ample time to introspect as governments and business leaders and look forward to recognize and to change the status quos that contribute to the growing risk of systemic risks like COVID-19 or climate change. Although it requires getting out of our comfort zone. Like the poster on my office door mentions, old ways won't open new doors. I believe and hope. When the global economy reopens, we create a new normal. We have reached the end of the third episode of the Anthropod. If you have made it this far, thank you for tuning in and staying with me. What will be your new normal? I would love to hear about it from you. If you feel like sharing anything that you felt, feel free to leave me a voice message if you're listening to me on Anchor, or reach out to me in the comments below, or by writing to me at anthropod@anthropose.com. Before we go, I would like to remind you that you can also find Anthropod in all the major podcast streaming services. Find us there. Having said that, this is me, Suraj Shrestha, signing off, hoping to catch you again in the next episode. Until then, take care and goodbye.